Hey folks, welcome to Talent on Tap. We're coming to you from New York City, and I am psyched to welcome Michelle Horde-White to the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
She is the Vice President of Talent Acquisition and Campus Programs for NBC Universal. So before we really dive in, tell us a little bit about you and your background, because you've had a really cool career journey.
Yes, so I've been in media my entire career, but I spent the first 15 years on the creative side of the business. So I've worked as a producer for places like Good Morning America, The Oprah Show, America's Most Wanted, and CBS News.
Love it. You work at a set of storied brands. I mean, let's be real. These are incredibly well-respected, well-regarded, revered brands that have come together, and you get a million plus applicants a year. That is not a small number, probably the envy of a lot of people. But given that you're in this really critical role at a time when the industry you're in is changing so much, what is top of mind for you?
Top of mind is looking at the roles that we perhaps didn't even have 5 years ago. So when we think about big data, when we think about data science, when we think about technology, in the way that we have to compete with organizations beyond just media. So because we're this storied collection of brands, it could be easy to think, gee, you get 1 million applications a year, clearly people know who you are and want to work here.
Yeah.
And yes, if you're in our traditional creative editorial production realms, of course, our brands are places that you desire to work. However, if you work in finance, if you work in HR, if you're in the technology space, now there's a much, much broader range of competitors. And so it became important that we learned to sell the experience and not just the brands. I think just from a generational standpoint, a generation ago, people were attached to brands and working at a place. And now employees want an experience and want to go somewhere where they feel like they're going to have a particular type of culture and experience. So that was a big important part of the EVP.
Got it. And maybe briefly for those that don't know what an EVP is, give us your one-liner on what it is.
So the EVP is really your brand promise. It's who we say we are as an employer, and it has to be inspirational, not aspirational. It shouldn't be a goal. And it should be an experience that we can talk to candidates about, and 100 days after they get there, they can confirm. So you want to have the continuity between what my team is telling candidates externally and internally what's happening from an employee engagement standpoint. So we went across, interviewed from all of our different businesses at different levels, at different locations, asking all the same questions, worked out with an outside consultant to really get a sense of how people felt about working at NBC Universal. Some interesting questions around NBC Universal versus their independent line of business and the keywords that came up. And you know, I joke sometimes that every business has unique-itis, right? Like there are those unique things and there are common through lines and denominators.
Definitely.
So in a decentralized organization where you have all of these fantastic brands running their own businesses, you want to acknowledge the diversity and the distinction. And there are some through lines that we could talk about from a corporate level.
And what was the tactic to acknowledge the differences?
From an EVP standpoint, we wound up going with Here You Can. Here You Can is empowering. It could be a full stop sentence on its own. Here you can put a line behind it, and here you can engage, here you can explore, here you can inform. But we landed on something that I think is empowering for each of the brands and that they can take the attributes of their brand and really plug in and make it distinctly theirs.
Well, I think leveraging that plus the sort of empowerment of these sub-brands, I think that is a genius approach. I will use that, I'm sure, at some point. So how did you bring say your direct reports along on the EVP journey? What role did they play, and how did you ensure that they were gonna really be the catalyst for implementing?
Well, before we had an EVP, I wanted to make sure we had a culture at home, right? Because one of the most important things as talent acquisition professionals is the ability to be an ambassador for those great brands. So if we were not creating this culture at NBC Universal, how could I expect someone to get on the phone and sell it to someone else?
Got it.
So it was critical to me when I joined the team that we broke down the silos and put a premium on people leadership, put a premium on creating a great employee experience for our employees in the talent acquisition organization. So we were trying to live an EVP, if that doesn't sound cheesy, so to speak. And so I think when we got the broader messaging, the team felt prepared to then go out and sell it because we were trying to create those experiences for our talent acquisition team.
How is that manifesting today?
So one of the things I'm really excited about is we have by level, so coordinators, associate recruiters, campus recruiters, what we call our development forums. And they elect their own chairs and meet on a monthly basis and talk about their jobs across portfolio. So whether it's an opportunity to share silver medalists for a particular job type, or how each of them are doing their jobs, or what they need as an organization. And so at every level, trying to connect the dots across the various groups and empower them to speak up about what's important to them.
That's terrific. Can you talk a little bit about how you think about that, and not just being a deck that got presented one day and then that was it?
Well, this is not a story that ends, right? So I wouldn't pretend that we have all the answers and everything is done, shut the book. It is an ongoing challenge. But what's exciting about it is hopefully we've created an environment where people feel like they can speak up, where they can raise their hand, where they can express concerns, and that they know that we'll be open and honest about answering them.
How have you been measuring the success of the culture that you've set?
Well, one of the interesting things is just how quickly culture can change. So in one calendar year, from the year prior to me taking over the talent acquisition organization to the following year, our employee engagement numbers went up dramatically around things like
That's excellent.
being proud to work there, feeling like my voice is heard, feeling like it's okay to make a mistake. And so to just see in 12 calendar months, and listen, that's not just me. That's the team that was around me, that was people really buying into it. But culture does not have to take 10 years. If you draw a line in the sand and get everyone to agree to this is who we are, you can turn things around pretty quickly.
So take us home and sum up the takeaways you want people to have today.
So I think the most important thing when you're on your EVP journey is to make sure that it's inspirational, not aspirational. You want it to truly tell the story of where you are. You also want to make sure that it is something that each line of business or in a huge portfolio of businesses that everyone can embrace and make their own. So make sure it's elastic enough that people can customize it. And last but not least, culture begins at home, right? So you have to make sure that your talent acquisition team as a leader is also having a fantastic employee experience if they're out there every day selling it externally.
Love it. Thank you so much for stopping by. This has been a great visit. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.